Bryant McFadden here, Indianapolis, Indiana, Combine 2026. Now joined. Of course, you know exactly who he is, but I got to give him his proper intro. General Manager of the Pittsburgh Steelers, no other than the great Omar Khan. Omar, thank you for joining me. First and foremost, man, you're here at the Combine as we're getting geared up to see these outstanding prospects put on. But how weird is it for you to be here without Mike Tomlin?
Well, first of all, B-Max, good to see you. If you would have told me, what year did you get drafted?
2005.
If you would have told me in 2005 that 21 years later you and I would have been sitting here in 2020, I would have signed up for that. So it's good to see you. So it's certainly different with Mike T. You know, it was an honor and a privilege to be around, to work with Mike Tomlin for as long as we did. He was a tremendous partner. I learned so much being around him. It's different. But, you know, we got Mike McCarthy on board and excited. He's been great. We've been grinding for the last month, ready for this process and more. But it's good.
And you talk about grinding here. Of course, you're here to try to improve the team as you get ready for 2026. But the elephant in the room has been at the quarterback position, right? Aaron Rodgers had a really, really good year in 2025. What are your expectations for Aaron Rodgers in 2026 in returning or not returning?
So, B-Mac, I've talked to Aaron. Coach McCarthy has too. He knows our feelings on him. It was a great experience with Aaron. Aaron was really awesome to have around last year. We learned a lot. I think we went into it last year thinking maybe it was probably just a one-year thing, and you know, if it turns into more than 1 year, then you know we'll embrace that. And he knows how we feel. We've had some good conversations, and I don't foresee this going like it did last year. I pretty certain we'll have an answer sooner than later. To be honest with you, we also have Will Howard and Mason Rudolph on board, and you know Will. We really liked Will coming out last year, and unfortunately he didn't get to play last year in the preseason. He got hurt and didn't get a chance to play later in the year. But we spent a lot of time studying his practice film from this year with Mike McCarthy, and feel good about where he's at, and excited to work with him. I know this coaching staff's excited to work with him, and so we feel good about it.
And speaking of Will Howard, worst case scenario with Aaron Rodgers, if Aaron Rodgers decides to not return and go ahead and retire, how confident are you in Will Howard that he is capable and ready to be QB1 for the team in 2026?
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily classify as a worst case scenario. I mean, we think highly of Will. We think he's an arrow player, and there's a lot to like there. And the fact that Coach McCarthy came in here and part of the interview process, we talked about it, and he talked about his excitement and some of the things he liked about Will, and thinks he's got a chance to develop and be a good football player.
When you look at the quarterback position, whoever the quarterback will be for the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2026, it's important to have playmakers catching the football. You look at the last few seasons, especially a year ago, trying to find guys that could be reliable pass catchers at the wide receiver position has been a high priority. When you look at being here in Indy, Omar, when you look at the vision for the wide receiver position, how do you expect to improve that room the fastest? Drafting a guy or potentially, free agency, or maybe trying to trade for a guy?
Yeah, B-Mac, I'd say that's not exclusive to the receiver position. I mean, we're evaluating every one of the position groups, and there's some good players here draft-wise where it's going to allow us to – we have 12 picks. So I don't remember the last time we had 12 picks.
That's a lot of picks.
I'm excited. I'm excited about that. But, there's some good free agents. We'll look at everything. But, we got to look at every position. We weren't – we didn't win a playoff game last year. We made the playoffs. That's not good enough. You know what it's. We have a high standard, and we expect to win championships, and we haven't done that in a while. So we have to, when you don't win a Super Bowl championship in Pittsburgh, you owe it to the organization and to the fans and to everyone to evaluate everything you do on a yearly basis, and we've been doing that.
You talk about having 12 picks, like you said. I don't think that has ever happened before with the organization, especially in years past. So with that being the case, should we expect to see you become a bit aggressive with some of those picks?
We have options. I'll just say that. So we're open to looking at anything and everything that'll help improve the roster.
Last question for you, Omar. When you look at the position groups here that will be performing here at Indy, is there a certain position group that really excites you in terms of talent, in terms of potential, where you look at that positional group and say, you know what, there's quite a few studs in that group I can't wait to see perform?
Yeah, so we had meetings prepping for this the last couple weeks, and you come out of those meetings and you're like, man, I wish I had 30 picks, because there's so many good players, right? You feel so good about so many players right now, and unfortunately, the process in the spring can kind of narrow it down and kind of take you to where you end up. We'll get some medical information that might change things for certain players, or other stuff that might come up. But there's some good players here. There are players that can help us at in every position group. I really believe that as we sit here today.
Well, I can't wait to see how it all plays out for you. Once again, another successful offseason. I know it's going to be entertaining, and the fans will be geared up. Once again, thank you for joining me here. Omar Khan, back to you guys.